Hello guys, welcome to the channel. It's Sunday the 1st of October and just some couple of hours before open of markets. And I thought to come on here and share my perspective, markets, opportunities on this week. I am actively going to be watching 6 pairs for trade opportunities this week. However, in this video, I will be breaking down the 4 pairs that made it to the top of my watch list for the week. Without wasting any time, the first pair on my screen right here is GBP USD. Looking at the weekly time frame on GBP USD, we are in a bullish market structure where we had this being the higher low that led to the swing high right about here before we had to see price made this pullback to the downside. Now I get asked a lot of times how I tend to know or how I tend to differentiate between the impulsive movements and the pullback, the retracement. And very quickly, guys, it's simple. Once you compare the movement of the impulse and that of the opposite direction, as you can see right here on the weekly time frame, we had just 2 weekly candlesticks move cover the whole of this distance. As you can see, when we made this impulse to the upside, we had this very bullish weekly candlestick completely overshadowing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weekly candlesticks. Almost 2 months. We had just this weekly candlestick completely overshadowing almost 2 months of price action. And then we had the next weekly candlestick also closing as a bullish momentum candlestick, even though we had seen some rejection from the upside. And then now compare when we're coming to the downside, we're having to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weekly candlesticks. So it took us just 2 weeks to cover this distance to the upside. And then coming back, we're having to see 6 weeks. And yet we have not covered the whole of this distance. So it took us 2 weekly candlesticks to cover the distance to the upside. That tells you the impulse. And this is the impulsive movement. And then this is the retracement because this is not as strong as the impulsive movement. So this is only for the retracement. And then we would most likely position ourselves to cash the continuation of the trend movement back to the upside. Most likely get to see price present us another impulse move to the upside. Now, what I noticed was if I introduce my fib retracement from this weekly swing high right about here to the weekly swing low right about here to the weekly swing high, you'll notice we had nicely retraced into the 78.6 Fibonacci reversal level. And then we have closed right back above the level. Now, this past weekly candlestick did not close as bullish as I expected. But then, having to see the rejection from the downside again. So we had 2 weeks ago, we had a nice rejection from the downside. And then last week we also had yet another weekly rejection from the downside. Now, when I start seeing weak rejections, it's kind of gives me clues that the momentum is likely shifting. And then, of course, you can see we had this weekly candlestick very bearish. And then 2 weeks ago, we had the weekly candlestick even more bearish than the previous week. And then we had the nice rejection from the downside, telling us of a more like sellers momentum is kind of slowing down. And then having to confirm that most likely the pullback, the retracement is coming to an end is the fact that last week's candlestick did not just only close with a rejection from the downside, with a bias rejecting sellers, but then we are having to see a kind of shift in the momentum because we had the previous weekly candlestick very bearish, and then only to have last week's candlestick close not even as a bearish candlestick, but then as a bullish candlestick. Now, if you know your candlestick patterns very well, this would be termed a Arambi. I think that's the name. But then the name doesn't really matter. Once you understand the price action and why price is pretty much presenting the kind of movements at the very exact level right about here, then you can take advantage of the next likely movements in the market. So clearly we have seen the weekly impulse, the weekly time frame in the bullish market structure, a nice retracement to the 78.6 Fibonacci reversal level. And then we're having to see rejection from the level. We're having to see a weekly candlestick close back above the 78.6 Fibonacci reversal level. This takes me down to the daily time frame. Now on GBP JPY, clearly we had the daily time frame shifts structure from bullish to a bearish market structure, and we pretty much have been printing ourselves lower high and lower lows, lower high, lower low, and lower high, then lower low, lower high, and then lower low. So we did not get a lower low. We presented a higher low, and then we had seen price present us a daily higher high, shifting the market structure now from bearish to a bullish market structure, now in line with the weekly time frame. So GBP JPY has the weekly time frame in a bullish market structure, and then also the daily time frame now in a bullish market structure, having seen price closed above the previous lower high. Having seen price close above this previous lower high right about here. And then we had this nice bullish daily candlestick close above that level, shifting the market structure from bearish to bullish. So we have two of the higher time frames now to the upside. And then if I would go a step further, looking at the hourly time frame, very clearly, also we have the 4-hourly time frame in a bullish market structure. So we have this being the lower high, that led to the lower low right about here. And then, of course, we have ourselves hourly higher low. Ourselves higher low. And then we have the higher high. Shifted the market structure from bearish to bullish, as seen right here in the hourly time frame perspective. So now we have the weekly, the daily, and the hourly time frames in a bullish market structure, all to the upside, guys. Don't sleep on this. The only trade opportunities I want to be looking out for are buying trade opportunities only, because this gives me higher probability opportunities, very much in line with the higher time frame directional bias. Now, taking this back again to the weekly time frame, daily time frame, having established the fact that we have 3 of the higher time frames in sync, the weekly, the daily, and the hourly time frame to the upside. This is where the very next thing I want to do is identify an area of interest where I would be waiting for price to come into, and that would be the best level to then look out for potential buying opportunities. Like I said, I only want to be looking to buy GBP USD. If I get to see selling opportunities, I would definitely not take that. I'll be waiting to ride the buy opportunities as there would be pro-trend trade opportunities, very much in line with the higher time frame bias. And now, identifying areas of interest for me, the very first level area of interest that comes to mind would be this level right about here, where we have the green rectangle. And as you can see, for every of the times price has tested that level, we've had to see massive movements in the opposite direction. So we had price tested the level from the downside right about here. And then we had a huge seller from the level, with the level holding as resistance. And then we had a break above the level, we tested the level from the upside. We're seeing a huge price rally to the upside. And then right about here, we tested the level from the downside. And then a huge sell-off with the level holding as a resistance. Right here, a test of the level from the downside, a huge sell-off with the level holding as a resistance. And then right about here, where the level acted as a resistance. And now we are back above the level. Now we're back above the level. What then would I expect to see price do? The very same thing it did right here. So now you can see when we add this nice bullish momentum candlestick close above the level, we add a retest of this level. And then because we're above the level, this level being a daily key level, the level now head up as support. And as soon as we tested the level, you can see we had huge daily rejections from the level, bullish momentum stepping in, and then we had this nice price rally to the upside. Now, then, of course, again, I would be expecting price to do the very same thing right about here. So now we're above this very level. This week, I would love to see price come very nicely into this level. As you can see, we're testing the level from the upside. Previously, the level was a resistance. A broken resistance becomes a new support, coupled with the fact that this level is a daily key level. We're about to see price previously tested the level. And for every time price tested the level, we've had to see huge movements to the opposite direction. So again, I would love to see price come nicely into this level and test this level. And then, of course, present me price action confirmations for longs once I scale down to the lower time frames at the retest of this level to go long. Then again, what's introducing the fib retracement on the daily time frame here, this being the swing low. So the most recent swing high right about here. Now you can see my first level area of interest aligns perfectly with the 61.8 Fibonacci golden reversal level and the 50 Fibonacci level, making this level a level of value for me. Now you can see the confluences that are at play at this very level way high. So this level is my first level area of interest, right? And then also I have a second level area of interest, being the second level right about here, 181.500 psychological round number level right about here also is a key level. You can see when we tested the level right about here, the level held up as support. Looking to the left, of course, we have right about here, the level held up as support. And then if we want to go way back, you get to see price also has had to make huge movements to the opposite direction for every time we've tested this level right about here, somewhere around 181.400 psychological round number. And then, of course, you would notice that this level, again, right about here, aligns very perfectly also with the 78.6 Fibonacci reversal level. Now you can see this for me becomes a level of value, being my second level area of interest. So if price comes to my first level area of interest, I would love to see confirmations that it wants to head to the upside, rejection candlesticks from this level, momentum candlesticks from this level, scaling down to the lower time frames, sharp patterns, reversal sharp patterns, inverse head and shoulder patterns, double bottoms, and divergence, whatever, just every of those clues that price want to reject this level and continue to head to the upside. And I would have this level right about here as my take profit level, very close to the negative 27.2. Also, it's a daily time frame structure level. For every of the times we've tested the level, as you can see, we had this huge movement from this level. What did we head up next to? As you can see, when we had this break above this level, and then we had a retest of the level, we had the huge price rally to this very level right about here. And then right about here, what can you get to see? When we had a break above this level, we had a retest. And then we had a huge price rally also to this level. Then we had the first nice daily rejections from the level before having to see a break of that level. And then, of course, you can see the level right here being tested from the upside, holding up as support right about here. So you can see this level for me becomes the next daily key level, even though I would get to have some level of consent before price gets to that point. This level will also be one of the level that I'll be concerned about once I get to take my buys from this identified first level area of interest. Price either test this level and then I will scale down to the lower time frames to look for price action confirmations to go for longs, or come right into the next level area of interest. And then I will look to go for longs. I might have multiple take profit levels. This level first being a first level area of interest for take profits, and then this for maybe take profit too on GBP JPY. And just to see how clearer this would play out, taking this down to the 1 hourly time frame. Of course, you can see from the 1 hourly time frame, we're also very much in a bullish market structure, with this level being the higher low level leading to this higher high. So personally for me, what I would expect to see at the open of markets this week would be for price to trade below this level, shifting the market structure on the hourly time frame perspective to bearish, and then continuing nicely to my daily time frame area of interest. And then from the hourly time frame, I would love to see a shift in the market structure from bearish to bullish, making every one of the time frames now in sync. The weekly in a bullish market structure, the daily in a bullish market structure, the hourly in a bullish market structure. And then by the time price would have tested the daily time frame identified area of interest, the hourly time frame would have shifted structure from bullish to bearish. And then I would love for a shift back from bearish to bullish, confirming that all the time frames are now in sync. And then at the retest of this level, look to go in for the longs as established from the daily time frame. Now, this might not play out exactly, but then this is just to give you a clue what I would love to see for price to do at the open of market this week. And then I would be positioning myself for these juicy buy trade opportunities when once market does present me at the open this week. And now that is that for GBP JPY. The next pair on my list would be NZD CAD. Taking a closer look at NZD CAD, starting out with the weekly time frame, of course. NZD CAD from the weekly time frame is in a bullish market structure, guys. I believe I don't even need to explain this too much. You can see very clearly for yourselves that NZD CAD is in a bullish market structure. You can get to see we have this huge price rally that obviously broke this lower high we have this being the weekly lower high structure that was broken by that huge price rally, shifting the market structure on the weekly time frame perspective from bearish rather to bullish market structure, presenting us this being the weekly swing high. That was the highest when price And then, of course, once we have this huge price rally to the upside, it's only expected that after seeing such huge movements to the upside, this movement obviously left lots of imbalance in the market, and it's only expected for this huge movement price to come and make a nice retracement to the downside before continuing that impulsive second leg to the upside again. And then again, you would get to see, just like I previously explained, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weekly candlesticks that covered this movement to the upside. But then whilst we're coming back to the downside, you can see, if we get to count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 29, 30. Over 30 times the candlesticks that presented us this movement to the upside has already formed on this movement back to the downside. So you can see the movement to the downside is not as strong as that to the upside. So this tells us this is only just a retracement. And obviously you can see we are having to see price bring us that kind of lower low, lower high, whatever scenarios, even though the overall trend is still in a bullish market structure. And now we have established that this is our impulse that led to the higher high right about here. And it's expected that we see price nicely retrace to give us a potential weekly higher low to then continue with the impulse leg to the upside, because now the weekly time frame is clearly in a bullish market structure. And if I introduce the Fibonacci retracement from this level of weekly lower low to the weekly swing highs right about here, what do you get to see? We have nicely come into the 61.8 Fibonacci golden reversal level, and then we have had a nice shift in structure. We've had a nice shift in structure back to the upside. As you can see, if we kept on establishing the lower low, lower highs from this point, this would have been the lower low, the lower high that led to the lower low. And then we've had a nice 2 weeks bullish momentum that closed back above that level, shifting the market structure, as you can see, from bearish now to bullish, at the retest of the Fibonacci 61.8 golden reversal level, having a nice close back above that level. And now this, of course, tells us, having seen these very bullish weekly momentum candlestick closes, tells us that the buyers are pretty much stepped into the market. And then, of course, we would expect to see price now give us more buying pressure to the upside in the next couple of months, even a year. It could take price yet another 1 year to get back to the previous weekly highs right about here. It could take price a couple of weeks, it could take price some months, but then that is not the case. We have been able to establish very clearly that what price is now continuing with the impulsive movement to the upside. And then for us to get to see price now come into the 0.88 thousand psychological round number being the previous weekly highs. And that's that from the weekly time frame. And then, of course, from the daily time frame, looking at the market structure also from the daily time frame, is the fact that we have a nice shift in the market structure from bearish to bullish. We have this, and then we have this. We have this lower high, and then we have this lower low, and then we have this this equal high right about here, higher low, and then of course the higher high right about here, as you can see. So clearly we have shifted the market structure from bearish on the daily time frame perspective to bullish. Also confirming the shift in market structure is the fact that price had presented us a nice inverse head and shoulder pattern, which is a reversal chart pattern, confirming the shift in market structure. Now, guys, we have the weekly time frame in an uptrend. We have the daily time frame also in an uptrend. Let's go down to see the 4-hourly time frame. Now you can see for yourselves, guys. Also very clearly from the 4-hourly time frame, you can see obviously that the 4-hourly time frame is also in an uptrend. And now again, we have the majority of the time frames to the upside, the weekly, the daily, and the 4-hourly time frames to the upside, all in the bullish market structure. Guys, there is no reason whatsoever why I should be looking to sell NZD CAD. I only want to buy NZD CAD. I only want to get in on every buy opportunities that NZD CAD will be presenting me till it gets to the previous weekly highs. Now, of course, having established the fact that we have the majority of the time frames in sync to the upside, I'm only going to be looking out for buying opportunities. The next thing I want to do is to identify those level areas of interest where I would wait for price to come into, and then what gets to look for potential buying opportunities. This takes me back to the daily time frame. Now you have to understand the weekly, the 4-hourly, the weekly, the daily, and the 4-hourly time frames I use to identify the market structure. Where is the market headed on the long run? Every of these 3 higher time frames, the weekly, the daily, and 4-hourly time frames, are my determining time frames for the market's direction. And then once I want to identify my areas of interest, the weekly and the daily time frames alone are my determinants for areas of interest. And then once I want to get in on those juicy trade opportunities in line with the higher time frame directional bias, any time frames below the 4-hourly time frame, the 4-hourly, the 1-hourly, the 30 minutes, the 15 minutes are my go-to time frames for trade entry confirmations. Now, having established that every one of the higher time frames, the weekly, the daily, and then the 4-hourly time frames are all in a bullish market structure to the upside, this takes me to the next thing I want to do is identify my area of interests. And very quickly, looking at the weekly time frame, the very first level area of interest that comes to mind would be the 0.81 thousand psychological round number level. As you can see from the weekly time frame, for every of the times we've tested this level, we've had to see price at huge movements in the opposite direction. You can see we had a sell-off. We tapped into this very level, and then we had a huge price rally to the upside. We had come into the level a second time, this huge rejection from the level, some movements to the upside before eventually breaking that level. And then when we tested the level from the downside, you can see we had a huge rejection from the level, with the level holding up as a resistance right about here. You can see right about here, we had a break above the level, a nice retest of the level, and then a huge price rally to the upside with the level holding up as support. Right about here, the level acted as support. So we tested the level from the upside, and then we have a huge rejection, nice price rally to the upside. But coming to the level again, somewhere around here, and you can see a huge weekly rejection from the level, and then price rally to the upside. And when we had a break below the level, you can see right about here, we had a retest of the level with the level holding up as resistance. And now we're having to see price now do what? Break above the level. Guys, you can see I am not making this up. What am I expecting for NZD CAD at the open of market this week? You can see what price did right here. As soon as we had the break above this level, weekly break, we had that nice weak retest of the level, and then the level held up as support for price to continue with the impulse move to the upside. Now, of course, guys, this market loves to repeat itself. This market loves to repeat itself. When once market opens this week, I would be patiently waiting for price to come again into this level as it did this time, come nicely into this level. And then until price comes into this level, I will not be looking to buy NZD CAD, guys. It's as simple as this. So price nicely come into this level, and then I will scale down to the lower time frames. My go-to time frames for trade entry execution, like I've said just a few seconds ago, and then to look for longs. Now you have to understand, guys, in the next couple of months, NZD CAD will be having huge movements to the upside. So I'm pretty much going to be swinging NZD CAD in the next couple of months, and then be having myself some nice position trades because I'm going to get in. And then with a scalp entry, but then some nice swing trade opportunities all the way to the upside. With hopes that in the next couple of weeks, we would have to see price come and take out this counter trend line. So most likely continue to the upside. So when once price retests this level, I will scale down to the lower time frames to get in on longs. And then my first level target for NZD CAD would be the 0.82500 psychological round number level, as you can see right about here, because that would be the next weekly key level, as you can see. When we had this price rally, we had come nicely to the level and rejected the level, with the level holding up as resistance right about here, resistance here, resistance here. So we could very much still do the same thing, coupled with the fact also that we have ourselves the exponential moving average 50 present at this level. So not only are we going to see price come and contend with this weekly key level, we have to see price come and contend with the 50 exponential moving average, and then also expecting to act as a dynamic resistance. So every buy opportunities from this level, I would be taking the majority of my profits as soon as we tap into the 0.82500 psychological round number level. But then look to get back on longs when once we have the break above this level, like you can see right about here. When once we have the break above this level, I would wait for a retest of that level to go in on longs. In the coming weeks, I would very much update us when once price gets to this level. For now, we are still very much right here. So we have a long way to go before we get to this highs right about here. So first level area of interest for me, 0.80900 or the 0.81000 psychological number level being my first key level to look for longs. So I would wait for price to come into this level to go in for longs. And then also I have a second level area of interest. Moving quickly to the daily time frame, which I identified from the daily time frame. Like I said some few minutes ago, I said the weekly time frames and the daily time frames only are my determining time frames for areas of interest. Areas of interest for me are simply those levels, zones where I would wait for price to come into first before looking for potential buy opportunities. So this is our first level area of interest, like we had identified from the weekly time frame. So when once market opens this week, I want to see a nice retest of this level area of interest, a nice retest of, as you can see, we're broken above the 50 exponential moving average from the daily time frame perspective, a nice retest of our weekly area of interest, a nice retest of the 50 exponential moving average. So by the time price would be retesting this level at the open of market this week, we most likely would have seen the exponential moving average kind of cash up with price somewhere around here. And then, of course, if I get to see rejections from the level, psychological round number, it's 0.81000, weekly key level, then rejection from the 50 exponential moving average. It's a no-brainer, guys. I would definitely take my longs at that level with my anticipated take profits at the 0.82500 psychological round number, like I established just some few seconds ago also. And then, like I said, I have a second level area of interest from the daily time frame being this level right about here. So as you can see, the 0.80500 psychological round number, 0.80500 psychological round number present at the level. Okay, 0.80400. I think I will make do with 0.0400. 0.80, let's see 500. Okay, whichever one of them. Just the fact that we have a psychological number present at the level alone, that's enough. So this is a second level area of interest for me, owing to the fact that what surprise, if you break this level, where is the next level I'm going to be waiting to get in on longs? I'm saying I would wait for price to come into this level as my second level area of interest, being the neckline of the inverse head and shoulder pattern. Guys, you can see as soon as we had this nice left shoulder, we had this level hold up as resistance. And then we had come nicely into the level a second time, holding up as resistance, before eventually having the right shoulder breaking above that level. So price might most likely come and retest the neckline of the inverse head and shoulder pattern, which would be also a daily time frame area of interest, a daily time frame key level. Looking to the left, you can see multiple number of times. For every of the time we have retested the level from the daily time frame, we have also had to see price add huge movements to the opposite direction. You can see right here, we tested the level from the upside, huge price rally. And even if we go to previous price data, like you can see right here, you can see at the retest of this level from the downside, we have a huge sell-off from the level. Now you can see every of these times, it keeps going on and on, guys. It keeps going on and on. Rejections from the level, rejections from the level, tested the level, rejection to the upside. And then, of course, in the coming days, when once price comes into the level, if for any reason it does break and trade below my first level area of interest, I would love for price to come into this level, being the neckline of the head and shoulder pattern, 0.80500 psychological round number. And you can get to see the lots of confluences that's already stacking up at these levels, guys. It's a no-brainer, guys. So this would be my first level going on longs. And then, of course, this would be my next level to go in for longs. Guys, don't sleep on every one of these trade opportunities that might be presenting themselves in the next few days. And then, of course, the next on my list, that is that for NZD CAD. The next on my list, okay, let's take a quick look at the hourly time frame on NZD CAD. Now you can see on the hourly time frame on NZD CAD, we are very clearly in a bullish market structure also. So you can see how we have every one of these time frames to the upside. Like I established at the open of market this week, I would love to see for price to come into this level. And then most likely by the time price is coming to this level, the structure from the hourly time frame would most likely have shifted. As you can see, this is the higher low. This is the higher low representing us this higher high. So most likely would have shifted to bearish. And then by the time price is retesting this level, my first level area of interest from the hourly time frame perspective, most likely the 50 exponential moving average right here would have caught up with this level. Now you can see the confluence present at that level being my weekly area of interest, psychological round number present at the level, and then what I would expect to happen from the early time frame, because by the time we would be retesting this level, the structure from the early time frame would have shifted to bearish. I would also want to see the hourly time frame now shift back to bullish before getting in on those longs at the retest of this level, such as this. And then again, like I said, this might not always play out exactly like this, just to have a clue what I would be looking to happen this week on NZD CAD on every one of the time frames. Now, the next on my list would be AUD JPY. AUD JPY, I pretty much called the long trade opportunities last week on AUD JPY. I would advise, if you have not seen that video, you quickly go and look at that video. But very quickly on AUD JPY, what we would get to notice is the fact that we have the weekly time frame in an uptrend. So every of my levels from last week, I pretty much left these levels just as they are, because from last week's breakdown, you would notice I have this level as my take profit level, and price has still not gotten to that level, meaning that what there's still some huge price movements to cover when once the market opens this week. And then I'm pretty much coming here to break down this, because price is most likely going to present us an opportunity to scale in yet another entry positions on this. So I would not be going too much in detail on this, because owing to the fact that last week's video, I pretty much explained in details every one of the things that AUD JPY was pretty much doing. And then, as you can see, AUD JPY from the weekly time frame is in a bullish market structure. We've had to see price at that nice retests of this 95,000 psychological round number level being a weekly area of interest for me, a weekly key level. And then at the retest of this level last week, I had called AUD JPY longs. I pretty much had my first entry position somewhere around this level for longs, which I'm still very much holding. And then I'm looking to scale in on more positions for longs this week. Quickly moving to the daily time frame. So the weekly time frame is clearly in an uptrend. We've had the nice retest of the weekly 95,000 psychological round number level, weekly key level, area of interest where we have had to see price likely now continuing the impulse move to the upside. And then, of course, from the daily time frame, what interests me is the fact that we've nicely had a daily candlestick break and close above a daily key level from the psychological round number 95.600. Psychological round number present at the level. And now you can see this level highlighted green, the green highlighted level right about here. For every of the time we've tested the level from the daily time frame, as you can see, we tested the level from the upside, and then we had this rejection, and then a nice bullish movement to the upside. We tested the level a second time right about here. Nice daily rejections from the level, bullish engulfing from the level. Right about here, we tested the level from the downside. We had this huge sell-off from the level. We tested the second time, a huge sell-off with the level holding up as a resistance. And then right about here, when we tested the level, nice daily rejections from the level, huge sell-off from the level. Again, we tested the level, doji rejections from the level, huge sell-off from the level. And now we are back up above the level. Now, guys, you have to understand the market is all about repetitions. The market will keep doing what it has done before. Now, when once market opens this week, as you can see very clearly, we have the weekly time frame in a bullish market structure, the daily time frame also in a bullish market structure. So I'm only going to be looking to go in for longs. The 4-hourly time frame also in a bullish market structure. As you can see right about here. So we have every one of these 3 time frames to the upside. It's a no-brainer, guys. There is no reason whatsoever why I want to sell. You can see these very selling opportunities, this very sell movement right now. I know a lot of persons would definitely be selling this right now. But for me, I would patiently wait to get what? The higher probability trade setups. And what are the higher probability trade setups? Buying opportunities only because it's in line with the higher time frame directional bias. The higher time frames, the weekly time frame is to the upside, the daily time frame to the upside, the 4-hourly time frame to the upside. Why on earth are you selling? So I would only be looking to sell AUD JPY when once the market opens this week. And then my level area of interests would be the 95,600 psychological round number level right about here. Now, because we're currently trading above that level, and then at the retest of the level right about here, previously the level acted as a resistance. A broken resistance becomes a new support. Coupled with the fact this is a daily key level, owing to the fact we've had to see price rejected the level with massive movements to the opposite direction for every one of the times price has tested the level from previous outlook, as you can see. So I would love to see price come right into this level at the open of market this week and then reject the level for me to take price all the way back to the upside. Now, guys, you don't sleep on this opportunity. Now, AUD JPY would definitely be heading to 97,800 level this week. I'm favoring the movements to the upside to the tune of 85%. So once this does play out, don't sleep on these opportunities, guys. This is one very massive and nice potential buying opportunity to the upside that you definitely want to take advantage of at the open of market this week. Let's take a quick look at the hourly time frame just to see. Now, of course, the hourly time frame, we are having to see the hourly time frame in a bearish market structure. So we have had the break below this higher low level. This is higher low that led to this higher high. So we have shifted structure to bearish. What would I be looking for price to do this week? Nicely trade into my identified daily area of interest, daily key level, 95,600 psychological round number. And then as soon as price taps into this level, I would love to see a shift in structure on the hourly time frame perspective from bearish now to bullish, confirming or putting this in line with every one of the other higher time frames, the weekly, the daily, and the 4-hourly time frames, all in a bullish market structure. And then I would wait for some nice retests at the potential higher low to get in on these longs with my anticipated take profit somewhere at this level. Now, guys, the last on my list would be Chef JPY. But I really don't want to make this video too long, so I will not be breaking down Chef JPY here. If you want to see what I would be looking to see price do at the open of market on Chef JPY for the week, then I would advise you click the link that I will be leaving in the description of this video. And that's the link to my free Telegram channel, because I would be updating every of the movements on the last pair on my list that's making it to the top of my watch list, Chef JPY for the week. So I would leave the link to my free Telegram channel somewhere below the description of the video. Do well to click that link so you come on board, as you definitely don't want to miss out on every one of these juicy trade opportunities that will be presenting us this week. I will go a step further to send some free trade signals on these opportunities when the right time comes. So you want to take advantage of the opportunity, come on board as soon as you can. Also, let me know what you think about these breakdowns in the comment section. And then, of course, guys, click the subscribe button so you don't miss out on such chart breakdowns and subsequent videos. Thanks for staying to the end of this video. See you in the next video, guys.